Here in Chhattisgarh, in the rural heartland of India, farmers from far-flung villages have gathered for the Akhti festival, bringing with them a variety of rice species. They come here to mix their seeds and to share their produce, so that they may grow a crop that is healthy and intrinsically resilient. These farmers are instinctively aware that biodiversity is their strength and that the inbreeding of monocultures is harmful, even dangerous, for crop survival. These ancient rituals, invoking the deities of fertility, are firmly rooted in traditional practices of cultivation which nurture the earth. The bullock-driven plough gently turns the soil, and the seeds, mixed from different stalks, are then sown during the monsoon rains. Agriculture, the mainstay of the Indian economy, is not merely an occupation, it's a way of life, stemming from a stream of knowledge and wisdom that has flowed down the ages. A culture where the nurturing of soil and seed is central to the life of the farmer. A tradition which recognizes that soil, seed and plant are interconnected and interdependent, nourishing and preserving each other in a well-balanced, ecologically sustainable environment.
India is a land of diversity, of different kinds of cultures, of different ecosystems, and diverse crop varieties. More than 200,000 varieties of rice have evolved in India. But rice is not the only cereal. Our 7 millets have tremendous diversity and produce more nutrition per acre than the best high-yielding varieties ever can. And the cereals are balanced by our legumes, more than 20 kinds of dals, the urad, the moong, the masoor, each of them fixing nitrogen freely for the soil and giving us high levels of protein. Not only does biodiversity give us balanced diets, it also maintains ecological sustainability, because from diversity we have the alternatives to toxic chemicals for sustainable agriculture.
Our strength lies in the tremendous range of biodiversity that is sustained by this land. Amongst the species of rice alone, numerous varieties have evolved to suit climate and topography. Varieties that are saline and drought resistant, those that need planting and those that are broadcast, and those that favor riverine and clay soils, such as here in the wetlands of the Gangetic Delta. Our diverse food crops are capable of providing the nutritional needs of our growing population. Biodiversity allows different crops to grow in symbiosis, which in turn provide a range of nutritional benefits. Indeed, the food security of this subcontinent depends on our ability to conserve this biodiversity. Folk varieties of crops are more resistant to pests than the hybrids, whereas monocultures are liable to be wiped out entirely under the onslaught of large-scale pest attacks, despite huge, capital-intensive inputs of pesticides and other agrochemicals. Besides, indigenous varieties of food crops are blessed with superior taste. And this, of course, is of paramount importance to the millions of consumers.
Seed is the first link in the food chain. It is also the basis of farmers' independence and farmers' sovereignty. When farmers harvest their crop, they save the best corn, the best seed for the next year's planting. Through this, they maintain their independence, they ensure the best diversity adapted to their local ecosystems is planted out. And this independence and this ecological adaptation is now under threat, with new hybrids that can't be saved, new terminator technologies that ensure seed is sterile, and new patents on life that ensure that seeds become the property of big corporations rather than the collective property of small peasants of India.
In the early 1950s, India cultivated nearly 50,000 strains of paddy. A decade ago, this figure had come down to 5,000 varieties. Today it is estimated that less than 2,000 varieties of paddy strains are being cultivated in India. But only 30 to 50 varieties cover about 80% of the land under paddy cultivation. Despite its many failures, the myth of the Green Revolution continues to be fostered by its many advocates, particularly the multinationals, who see India as a huge market for fertilizer, pesticides, agrochemicals, and now genetically modified seeds. Terminator technology, the next logical step in bioengineering, actually takes the power of regeneration and fertility out of the hands of the people and into the deep pockets of large corporations. The destruction of biodiversity and traditional systems of cultivation, the dismissal of knowledge and culture that has evolved over the ages, the elimination of the range of nutritional sources, and the effective control over the productivity of the land is clearly the agenda to hold to ransom over 1 billion hapless people.
ये सारा जो हरित क्रांति का तकनीक लाया गया, पहले पंजाब में लाया गया, बार बार बताया गया कि इससे किसान खूब उन्नत हो जाएगा, है ना? और ये नहीं बताया गया कि इसकी सारी तकनीक ऐसी है जो 5 साल चल सकती है, 10 साल चल सकती है, उसके बाद फेल होना जरूरी है उसका। पहले किस तरह का बीज लगाते हो, उसमें उससे रिश्ता है कि कितना कीटाणु आएगा। वो तो आप लोग जानते हो, पुराने कनक में उतना कीड़ा नहीं लगता, नए कनक में ज्यादा लगता है ना? चावल में इन नए वाले जो बीज हैं उनमें ज्यादा लगता है, ऐसे ही कपास में, ऐसे ही मक्की में, सब चीजों में पौधे में पानी ज्यादा हो जाता है और वो पानीपन की वजह से कीड़े उसे आराम से खाते हैं। तो एक तरफ खाद से जुड़ा हुआ है, एक तरफ बीज से जुड़ा हुआ है। पर तीसरा है जो ये दवाइयां बार बार बेच रहे हैं, कहते हैं इससे सुंडी मरेगी, इन दवाइयों से सुंडी और ताकतवर होती है, उसमें रेजिस्टेंस आ जाता है और दवाई और जो अच्छी चीजें उनको मार देती है पर सुंडी को नहीं मारती। उससे कैंसर बढ़ रहा है, उससे सारी बीमारियां बढ़ रही हैं। भाई जी, हाँ, ये सुंडी का प्रॉब्लम और ये बस कीटाणु के से फसल खराब होने का प्रॉब्लम कब से शुरू है?
पहले तो 83 से हुआ जी। 83 से जो आई है ज्यादा सुंडी, उधर एक बार कपास की फसल सारी मारी गई थी। उसके बाद सिंथेटिक ग्रुप और ऊंची ग्रुप के जनी वो कुछ दवाइयां ऐसी आई, उनके कंट्रोल कर लिया। 90 तक उसका कंट्रोल चला, 90 के बाद उसका भी कंट्रोल खत्म हो गया। उसके बाद बस खर्चा बढ़ता गया है, कोई कीड़ों से नहीं कंट्रोल होया, ना फसल नष्ट होती गई है। अब ये हालत बन गई है कि बिल्कुल सारे पंजाब की जो किसान नरमा पट्टी है वो कपास पट्टी का किसान है, या किसान पट्टी जो नरमा पट्टी है कपास है, ये क्षेत्र बिल्कुल सुंडी ने चटम कर दिया है।
और इससे क्या कर रहे हैं फिर किसान, क्या रास्ता ढूंढ
बस
रहे हैं?
और कोई रास्ता नहीं, बड़ी स्प्रेयां होर ਵਧਾਈ ਜਾਂਦੇ है, होर खर्चे ਵਧੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ है। जिमें पैसे वो किसान बता के गया है, वो डीलर है जेडे या आड़ती है जो ये राया दे देते हैं भी आ स्प्रे छिड़को, आ छिड़को, आ 2 मिलाकर छिड़क दो, आ 3 मिलाकर छिड़क दो। खर्चे बढ़ी जाते हैं पर कंट्रोल कोई नहीं होता। रोक नहीं आया।
आपकी खेती क्या है? कर्ज कितना है आपका?
कर्जा तो
लाला के लिए
कर्जा तो 60-65 हजार रुपये जी।
65,000
पिछले साल भी खड़ा जी, बराबर नहीं आया। मैं
नहीं आया।
नहीं, पिछले साल हारी च भी नहीं बराबर आया।
और इस साल कितना लिया है इसके लिए, दवा के लिए?
दवाई तो 22,000 की छिड़कती है।
22,000 की?
अच्छा, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੱਸੋ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਪਿੰਡ 'ਚ ਇੰਨੇ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਕੁ ਜ਼ਮੀਨ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਕੁ ਜ਼ਿਮੀਂਦਾਰ ਆ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਰਜ਼ਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇਣਾ?
ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਜੀ ਇੱਕ ਦੋ ਨਿਕਲ लेंगे।
एक दो ही?
ਸਾਰੇ ਗਾਂव
कितना बड़ा गांव है?
गांव तो होगा 2000
2000 में 2 लोग बिना कर्ज के।
हाँ जी, यही है बात। ऐसी स्थिति है पंजाब के कुल किसानों की। इत्थों की सरकारी रिपोर्टां भी बताती हैं जी 95% लोग कर्जाई हो चुके हैं। सरकारी रिपोर्टें हैं।
अच्छा तो ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਿੰਡ ਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਨੇ ਆਪਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੋਲੇ ਸੀਰੀ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨੇ ਕੇ ਲਈ ਹੁਣ ਮੇਰੇ 7 ਬੱਚੇ ਆ ਜੀ
These are the faces of the failed green revolution. Farmers who have been driven off their fields and into the frenzied tentacles of the labor market. The unsustainable mechanics of green revolution agriculture have wreaked havoc on the environment with the unbridled use of toxic agrochemicals and pesticides, as well as huge irrigation systems that have gone horribly wrong. As a result, cultivators have been pushed to their knees under the burden of capital investment and rising debt.
We are standing in an arid ecosystem. That lake behind us is not a natural lake. It has been created by the waterlogging caused by the intensive irrigation linked to the Green Revolution. Pump houses like these are an external cost that was never counted when the benefits of the Green Revolution was assessed. This pump house has been pumping water non-stop for the past 5 years into the very canals that have caused the waterlogging, and yet the problem is not being solved.
With the realization of past follies becoming clear, vast sums are now being spent to rectify the wrongs. But correcting the terrible mistakes of the Green Revolution will not be so simple. Croplands across Punjab have turned into wasteland, as irrigation schemes meant to serve the water-intensive monoculture crops have instead created a colossal environmental disaster.
The intensive irrigation that the Green Revolution required created waterlogging on the one hand and salinity on the other. The white deserts we see behind us are created by salts depositing on the surface as water that has risen close to the surface starts to evaporate. Salinity and waterlogging are basically the creation of deserts out of fertile soil, which kill trees, kill crops, and leave the abundance of this land of Punjab in a wasteland.
गांव थेड़ी आ भाई की थेड़ी आई थी ते हुण फसल कोई नहीं हुई 13 साल हो गए बाकी बहुत बुरा हाल है फसलें ही हैं जिमींदार
Caught in the ever-tightening noose of environmental devastation, crop failures, unemployment and rising debt, Indian farmers are being driven to the very edge.
Cotton, a crop that has originated in India, has now been attacked by a pest, a resistant virulent pest called the American bollworm. And for the last 7-8 years, no amount of pesticide spraying is controlling it. It's devastating the crops of regions like Bathinda, places like Warangal. Across the length and breadth of India, farmers are being forced to commit suicide because of the debts they have taken for the pesticides to control this pest. A method that is no more working, a method that